Okay, our first guest on the webinar actually has over 1,000 customers worldwide, and they have offices in Singapore, the US, the UK, Holland and India. Their customers include Hitachi, Xerox, Panasonic, Waterhouse Coopers, Rio Tinto, Yellow Pages, Starbucks, Sandisk, Bank of England. The list is too long for me to read. The last one on the list is Singapore Petroleum. And they've got certifications and awards from Citrix, VMware, SAP, Gartner, Red Hat, Virtualization, Admin.com, to name but a few. And from EG Innovations, here to provide some real nuggets on how to pinpoint problems and how to speed up the network. Would you please give a virtual warm welcome? So wherever you are in your office, please give a round of applause to welcome Srinivas Ramanathan. Srinivas, are you online? Can we all hear you?
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Well, very big welcome. And Srinivas, I noticed you've actually got a PhD in computer science from the University of California. You're someone who goes all right in the knowledge department.
Thank you, thank you.
And I don't know if you're aware, actually, someone has given you a recommendation on LinkedIn. One of the team members from N-Scale, Lisa Bernie Brown, referred to you as the smartest person she has ever met. Talk about raising the expectation. In preparing for the education session, you've been nothing other than helpful and responsive. So we're looking forward to your content. Take it away, Srinivas.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. The topic for today is performance assurance for Citrix infrastructures. Performance of Citrix is an important topic because users expect Citrix sessions to perform at least as well as their physical desktops. From the poll question, we've seen a couple of the key pain areas that many of you are facing, and the first one is the fact that the troubleshooting process tends to be very long. The second pain point was, of course, you don't really know how optimal your Citrix infrastructures are. So in this presentation, we'll try to focus on these two and some of the other common challenges that many Citrix administrators face as they try to support business-critical applications on Citrix environments. Let's start this discussion with a scenario that most of you must be very familiar with. When users log in to Citrix, they see the Citrix screen splash up. They know that they're logging into a Citrix session. And when they experience any issues, the user complaint is always that Citrix is the problem. The desktop access is slow, it's not working, or the applications are slow to launch. Faced with these complaints, the help desk, which gets the call, passes it to you, the Citrix administrator. After all, the user complaint is that Citrix is slow. What the user is really saying is that the Citrix service is slow, not that the Citrix server is slow. You and I both know that Citrix involves more than one server, more than one application, and that the end user is not saying it's the Citrix server that's the problem, but that the overall service is slow or not working well. Your challenge now, once you get the trouble call, is to prove exactly where the problem lies. Is it the Citrix server, or could it be somewhere else in the infrastructure, and if so, where? This is where EG Innovations can help. We help Citrix administrators prove exactly where the real problems lie. Now, the usage model for Citrix is very simple. User logs in from their thin client, gets access to their desktop and applications. The underlying infrastructure, though, is fairly complex. On this screen, you see a typical Citrix XenApp infrastructure. There are many tiers of software and hardware that are involved in supporting the Citrix service. The user, in this case, on the left-hand side, is accessing the infrastructure from a thin client. The request is being passed to the web interface's storefront server, which authenticates the request through Active Directory. The zone data collector then forwards the request to one of the XenApp servers in the farm. User profile may have to be loaded from a back-end profile server. And the XenApp server hosts front-end applications where the application is launched and the control then passes to back-end servers like SAP, Exchange, and so on. You have a classic multi-tier infrastructure here, and the arrows represent dependencies between different tiers. If one of the tiers is having a problem, this could impact all the other tiers of the infrastructure. For example, if your profile server is slow, the user will see slow login as the profile is slow to load. As the Citrix administrator getting the complaint, your challenge is, where is the slowdown? Is it due to the network? Could it be due to the database? Is it the profile server, Active Directory, back-end applications, or could it actually be the XenApp server that's slowing down? So this is the problem that many of you described when you spoke about a long troubleshooting process during the first poll that we'd done. We'd like to take a minute now to do a second poll to understand how many of you are deploying Citrix on top of physical or virtual infrastructures. Anthony?
So the poll should be up on the screen right now, and if everyone could just take a moment to select their option. Let's share the vote. Let's share the feedback.
Okay, so it looks like that 68% of you are running on virtual machines. There's only 3% of you running on physical, and a third of you, almost a third of you, are running in mixed environments. Very interesting. Srinivas?
Yep. So this is a good lead into my next slide. Virtualization has a lot of benefits, but it also adds more failure points in the infrastructure. And from a Citrix performance management perspective, let's take a quick example to understand how virtualization adds more complexity to the problem, how it makes your troubleshooting process a little longer and harder. Here I've taken a quick example. A Citrix XenApp server is hosted on a virtual machine that is running on a hypervisor. And in this example, two other virtual machines are running a file server and an Oracle database on the same hypervisor. And if all of a sudden there are many queries coming to the database server, this could cause a lot of disk I/O on the physical host. When the physical host slows down, all of the VMs running on it slow down as well. Hence, in this example, additional workload on the database server is impacting the performance of Citrix. As the Citrix admin, if you look at the Citrix virtual machine alone, it would appear to be slow. But the real issue is not with the Citrix server. It's with the virtual platform that Citrix is hosted on. So when you virtualize Citrix XenApp, you will need to have visibility into the virtualization platform as well if you want to effectively manage Citrix. So far, we've focused on the technical challenges in monitoring Citrix environments. Let's take a minute to look at the organizational issues involved. Having end-to-end visibility is often easier said than done. Especially in larger infrastructures, you have different administrators for each of the tiers, and they all use different tool sets. There is no common end-to-end view, and most of the other administrators do not get help desk calls directly. The user never calls and says, my database is slow, or that VMware is slow. The user complaint is always, Citrix is slow. Your challenge as the Citrix administrator is how to get visibility across these tiers to figure out where the real problems lie. Without an end-to-end view, there is a lot of finger pointing between administrators, and it takes a long time to determine where the real problems are. From a business standpoint as well, Citrix performance management is important. Let's understand why. When we had physical desktops, if one desktop failed, it impacted one user. With Citrix, you could have hundreds of users connected to a server. And if a server becomes slow, it impacts hundreds of users. I was recently speaking to a Citrix administrator at a big global law firm, and asked him what's the business impact of Citrix slowness. His infrastructure supported thousands of lawyers connecting from their offices remotely, and even conservatively assuming that each of these lawyers is paid $300 an hour, the cost of having his infrastructure slow or not working for 1 hour would be $300,000. So obviously, Citrix Performance Management is critical for anyone that is using Citrix XenApp or XenDesktop to support key business processes. I've given you a good feel for the problem space. And before you ask me, are you going to show me a solution, let me get there. EG Innovations has worked with thousands of Citrix clients in the last decade, and our solution is the EG Citrix Service Manager. The overall goal of our solution is to provide you with a single pane of glass view of the entire infrastructure, as much of it as you have access to. From this dashboard, you can figure what's working and what's not, and exactly where the problem lies, so you focus your troubleshooting on the root cause of the problem. And if we can cut down your problem resolution time from 3 hours to 30 minutes, we offer tangible savings and benefits to your business. That's our goal. Think of the EG solution as a general practitioner for your for your Citrix infrastructure. When you're not well, you go to the general practitioner. 80% of the time, the general practitioner solves the problem for you. The 20% where he or she cannot solve the problem, they can at least point you to the right specialist. This is the function that the EG Citrix Service Manager performs for a Citrix infrastructure. Majority of the times, it can tell you where the problem lies, whether it's Citrix, VMware, EMC, Cisco, etc. And at times, it can tell you where to look to get to the root cause of the problem. Just like the general practitioner and specialists have a role to play in the medical world, so too does the EG Citrix Manager and other specialized tools. We're not saying give up on all the tools you're using right now. We're just saying there is a role for the specialist and another role for the general practitioner. You're probably currently using a lot of specialized tools in your infrastructure, and we believe you can significantly enhance your operational efficiency and reduce your operations costs by having a general practitioner that takes an end-to-end view of your Citrix environment. Let's take a quick example to show you how the EG Citrix Manager can help you. I've taken a scenario where users are experiencing problems with their Citrix infrastructure. Here you see the EG Enterprise console for the Citrix service that we're monitoring. Using an agent deployed on the web front end, we're capturing the performance seen by users accessing the service. As you can see, users are seeing errors when they try to log in or when they try to access the applications. So if you look at the errors metric, you'll see that there are 100% errors currently happening. So from this screen, you know that there is an issue, but you can't say where the problem lies. Is it the network? Is it Citrix? Is it the application? Could it be the database, etc.? To get to that additional level of detail, you can click on any of the transactions shown on the screen. The next drill down shows the service topology. You can see what application tiers are involved in service delivery and what the interdependencies between them are. The colors on each tier represent their health. Green means things are working well. Different shades of red indicate different levels of problems. The darker the shade of red, the more severe the problem. The state of each tier is based on agent or agentless monitoring. The EG Citrix Manager has custom monitoring for Citrix infrastructures. So all the key health parameters at every layer, every tier of the infrastructure are collected and analyzed in real time. The arrows between the application tiers represent interdependencies between these applications. For example, the Citrix XenApp server depends on the print server and the file server for proper functioning. The service administrator just has to focus on the color cues on this screen to see what's broken. From this screen, you know that the web front end is impacted, but the most severe issue is with the XenApp server. So let's try to understand what's going on. Let's click on the XenApp server to see what happens. If XenApp were hosted on a physical machine, the next level of drill down would have focused on the internals of the XenApp application. In this case, the management software is smart enough to discover that the XenApp server is running on a virtual machine, and this virtual machine is hosted on a VMware ESX server. And from the color codes, you can see that while XenApp is hot, the ESX server is hotter. So let's drill down into ESX to see what's going on. Clicking on ESX, you're now drilling into the ESX server and its health. On the left-hand side, you see a layer model for VMware ESX. EG Enterprise uses layer models to represent the health of each application or server or network device that it monitors. Broadly, the layer model is similar to the OSI model of the protocol stack. OSI was a theoretical model. We built practical models for each tier. For an administrator, the layer model is simple to understand. You don't have to sift through thousands of measures to see what is working and what's not. In this example, you can see that anything is in green is fine. The critical problem shown in dark red is at the operating system layer at the bottom. The operating system represents the hypervisor of ESX. On the right side, you see tests that are mapped to this layer. You can see that the system console, which is the bootstrap operating system of ESX, has an issue. Down below in the measurements panel, you can see the exact issue. The virtual CPU usage of the ESX system console is at 100%. The system console is a bootstrap operating system that is supposed to be taking up less than 2% of CPU normally. So why is it taking 100% CPU? To get to that next level of detail, let's click on the magnifying glass on the same horizontal line as the measurement. Here you see the top 10 CPU consuming processes running in the ESX system console. You can see that there are several backup jobs running on the console that are causing the CPU spike. So what's happened here is that the ESX administrator has started backup jobs. He or she was probably just doing their job. They do not understand the impact that this task may have on service performance. They started this job in the middle of the day. The job is impacting taking up enough CPU and memory and disk resources that it's impacting the performance of all the VMs that are running on the ESX server and therefore causing slowdown for XenApp. The user complaint is Citrix is slow. With a few click-throughs, we've indicated to you where the real problem lies. Without end-to-end visibility, you could have ended spending a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on. In this example, we've shown with a few clicks how you can go from a user visible problem, which was I can't log in or my application access is not working, to the root cause of the problem, in this case a backup job running at the wrong time of the day, and thereby causing slowness. We showed you these drill downs to give you a quick feel for how the EG Service Manager works. In practice, you don't have to click through several times to get to the root cause of the problem. One of the first windows that comes up when you log into the EG console is the alarm window. This window lists current problems in the environment in order of severity. The most severe problem is marked in dark red and is right at the top. These are the root cause alerts that you need to focus your attention on. The alarms shown here can be sent to you over email, pager, SMS, and so on, so you don't even need to log into the console to see what current problems there are. EG Enterprise also provides a wealth of reports that you can access to analyze historical data and trends. You can get these reports tailored to different stakeholders in the organization, and these reports can be specialized for capacity planning, or there are other reports that are ideal for post-mortem diagnosis of problems. Citrix performance management is often a key to successful Citrix deployments. By keeping Citrix performing well, you can boost your user satisfaction and productivity. You can also reduce IT support costs because your key admins will spend less time firefighting routine issues. Citrix Performance Assurance can also help you optimize your investments in hardware and software because it can point you to areas of the infrastructure you're not using very well. Finally, if you're deploying new projects that involve XenApp and XenDesktop, you'll surely need to have the right level of visibility to ensure that your rollouts go well. And when you hit any issues, you know exactly what you need to do to alleviate these problems during rollout. Finally, if you found what I've described here to be of interest, EG Innovations and Teba are pleased to extend a 30-day free trial of the EG Citrix Service Manager to you, so you can see for yourself what the solution can offer for your infrastructure. You can contact your Teba representative, or you can contact EG Innovations by email to sales@eginnovations.com. Thank you for your attention, and it's back to Anthony now.
Thanks for that, Srinivas. Actually, Steve here.
Yeah.
Interesting point about, just going to make a quick interesting point. We were running the product on one of our clients the other day, and although we thought everything was perfect in that environment, we actually found it popped up with an error saying that a few users had massive profiles. One user had 15 gig of information on their desktop. So even though a normal operation of the system wouldn't have picked up that issue, we were able to pinpoint that some users were having slow login problems simply because they had massive files on their actual profile. So that was very interesting.